Yeah.
Ready?
Malcolm, thanks for the memo.
Thanks for making your way through all that.
Yeah, they're there.
It just seems premature. It's just a shift of.
I agreed from the beginning. It's just like we get in the middle of that. Somewhere we have some liability. Rather just avoid it the best we can.
So you can go ahead and have
I'm sure that's the city's perspective.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They don't want to get in the middle of that. It will not be Brad or the schools, but.
Good morning. We'll call this meeting to order. It's 11:05 a.m. All right. First item this morning is the consent agenda, and one of our smaller minutes to review. Any changes or problems with the agenda from last month? All right. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda from the July 23rd, 2025 regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Next is the financial information. I don't think there's anything drastically changed there. We do have a few cases where there are some amounts where we approved a certain amount of money. Some has come through, but they're like multiple payment accounts. There's some small variations there, but they'll shake out when all the various small projects get finished. There's still some stuff on the splash pad down there where there's some vendors that we're settling up with. So anyway.
I do have a question
Yep.
about finance, particularly when the next bond payments are due on the junction and the Solai. And the reason just is because the current balance is in there with respect to the amount that was paid out in July, and whether, that's... January? Okay.
Usually January, July.
So there's no risk in terms of expenses exceeding balances? Okay. All right. That's all.
Yeah. Those are set up so we get a percentage, or at least the junction is, but, so we should never not have enough. They pay, like in the junction's case, we get 25% and they pay whatever the other part of the bond is, so, but, yeah.
The problem we have?
Yeah.
There's always a problem. The junction has a lease provider agent that makes their disbursements, kind of manages the money and things like that. Most states, taxes are due on May 20th, like 48 out of the 50 states. Ours is May 11th. Anyway, the leasing company made the payment 2 days late, which they paid the delinquency, not our mall guy, the junction guy. But what that caused is a mess in the bond. Like Mike said, you never are at risk. You will get back 25% of the payment, whether it be a $10,000 payment or a $50,000 payment. Well, the problem is, the reason you didn't get much this time, when he paid 2 days late, the auditor puts it into two different buckets, the on-time bucket and then the past due bucket, even though they paid it. It happens a lot, according to Andy Mauser at Baker Tilly. So he reached out to him and asked, please cut that disbursement. You have it. It's another $48,000 that he paid. And they said, we'll cut it in fall. And then Andy asked nicely again, we have a bond here and that money goes to different groups. Is there a way to, other counties do it, is there a way to disperse that? And the answer was no. It was one word, no. So, kind of your question, there's more money out there, you're never at risk, but you have more money coming to you that has not been dispersed yet. It'll be a much larger check come fall. You'll get the fall distribution plus the 25% of the $48,000.
Okay.
So,
All right,
Let's
thank you.
explain that.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
That made sense even when you said that. Okay, so then, can't think what else is anything new. The front summary page is probably the one that's most helpful in both sections, and it shows you that we have, at the end of the current expenses we've got a little over $4.5 million, and then you get down to what we've already voted on, or that's going to happen, gets you down to $3 million. So we got about $1.5 million in float that we've approved but have not yet dispersed. So it kind of gives you a feeling for, pretty handy to see this as to which funds have got what and that sort of thing.
I only had one question, and it just had to do with the Lexington construction account. Like, what's our plan for that money? It's just $20,000. Is it just gonna sit there until we need it? And then eventually it'll close out and it'll flow somewhere else, or it'll just kind of stay there indefinitely until some
That
reason?
was, I think you guys had it earmarked out for the
Sidewalk.
sidewalks. But we haven't been billed yet for
Okay.
sidewalks, so that's the reason why.
Yeah,
it's
I
when that
being
comes,
carried.
that'll-
But that'll close out
Close
once
out.
you have the.
That was my
sidewalks.
memory also. The first 20 would go to, and then we would pay on top of that.
Is it all coming out of discretionary after that? After that's gone?
I'm sorry, what?
Will the sidewalks be all done at that point, or are we just gonna start pulling them out of discretionary?
Yes.
as opposed
The
to-
sidewalks will all be done. The only thing that'll be left is like the driveways, which will be part of each house. But they'll be all and they've designed it now. Originally, there was a long discussion about, do you want your driveway to go all the way through to the street? And you get the sidewalk, but they want the sidewalks now. So basically, the sidewalk will be there, and it's pitched so it will a little bit, so that the water will run off the sidewalk into the either tree plot or the other area, and then they'll put the driveway to there. They'll also put another driveway to the street, because they didn't know you don't know where they're going to mirror, how that's going to happen. So anyway, so yeah, that's the intention they've got. And there were some sidewalks that were done originally too, and so those will all be done, I think, this season. They originally discussed they would just do it as time allowed this construction season. So I think we shouldn't, and we've not paid them anything yet, so sooner or later they're going to want to, I think they've started some of them anyway, so I think they'll probably want to get some money sometime, but, they're trying to offset the county on this one. I think they're helping us. Okay, so there. Okay, so I will make a motion, we accept the financial reports from the July 2025 meetings, both for the TIF and non-TIF district funds and the Lexington Village residential TIF funds. Is there a second? Any further discussion? Questions? All right, all those in favor signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Okay, we'll now into the new business section. We'll now move into the properties we have and have kind of a public hearing here of sorts. With the building bid openings, we received two bids for two separate properties. The first one was received on the Eastgate sublot property.
Sublot 1?
Yeah, yes, lot one, yes, sorry. This thing is really fastened up. Should have brought a letter opener. Yeah, well, I'll say, there's extra tape on here too. Thank you. Workers' comp? No comp. Workers' comp?
I don't think that applies to a volunteer position.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Someone caught that knife.
Boy, suspense is killing everybody here.
Everybody's looking right at you.
I know. And we're live streaming. We're going, come on, get on with it. All right. So the only bid that has come in for Lot 1 at Eastgate comes from Hospital and and has offered a purchase price of $151,000, which is above the maximum bid amount of $137,500. We will, as we always do, we'll take this under advisement, which means we will take this and compare to the specifications that were part of the packet, and then we will get back with folks after that. Thank you. This is Haas back here, in case anybody. Thank you. Yeah. And he does have some drawings here too, so I'll send that email out, a copy of it to all you guys, and then we'll go through again. And say in your packet today, it has the actual bidding packet that we sent to folks, which gives you all the things that they saw and the various specifications. Okay, now this is going to be a little easier.
Which one's this for, Mike?
This is, we have no bids for Lot 3 at Eastgate. This is a bid for the 916th Ray Street property, 3 parcels down there. This is the area that's basically next to the event center. And there we had some specifications on what we wanted to have happen if we could to better develop that area.
Mike or Bill, while he's opening that, what happens if there are no bids on a particular property? Where does it stand? What happens next?
Basically, we then have 30 days, and then it goes back into where we can negotiate with somebody at that point. So we've had cases before where we had, let's say, specifications, nobody bids on it, then we can go ahead and then say, well, we take other bidders, and then we get to where we specified how we want it to work. They say this is not how we went for something different purposes. So I mean, really, it kind of, once you've made the public offering like this, it is, it's up to us to renegotiate and don't need to go back and bid again or whatever. So that's roughly, right, Bill? I mean, he's busy talking to the mayor. All right. So in this packet, we have the Ray Street property. They're calling it the Cobblestone Hotel Development. This is from the Avaris Group. They are specifying a hotel and suites with 54 guest rooms, complemented by a wine and beer bar, light fare, hotel-style breakfast service, with an indoor pool, fitness room, meeting room, lobby, gathering space. And let's see here. Their total budget, they're looking at $10,358,500.
Excuse me, the amount?
This is the $10,358,500 is their total budget for this project, if they get the land, of course. And they say approximately $191,824 per key. Interesting. Not in that business, but I get that. Wow, got to rent that room a lot of times. Okay, let's see in the. They're showing the minimum offering price, $86,000. Does that match? Yes. I'm not sure they're saying they're offering that. It just says. Okay. They acknowledge the commission's stated premium minimum offer of $86,000 as outlined in the offering packet. Okay. So we will take this under advisement also and read all the pages. Here's a picture. They've got a history of their group. Speak away.
Just a request, I'm familiar with both groups. If possible, I would request a special meeting, once you have the availability to look it over and review it. I would hate to wait another month,
Okay.
because both those projects are kind of time of the essence. We want to, we are approaching September and groundbreakings and winter and all that. So if possible, once you've had time to look at it and your schedules permit, I'd like, as quick as possible, a special meeting to accept or deny those bids.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's reasonable. Okay. So we'll take both these under advisement, and we will try to get the information out to you today. And as I say, you'll compare the information here with, or I'll do it for you, but we probably should have Malcolm do this. He's the best at long document understandings. You'll compare it to that, and then there's some specs in there. I don't have any major fears that either one of these will probably have any problems with that, so we should, I think we'll be probably, I can't say. I presume it's all going to be in order, and we will keep moving. Okay, so I guess we'll end the public hearing. Anyone want to make any comments about any of this stuff while we're here? House, do you want to say anything? You can say something if you want to. Okay, that's fine. That works for me. Okay, moving now to Resolution 2025-345. Mr. Cuppy.
All right, this is a process that you went through initially a couple years back. It's a way to keep the State Board of Accounts happy as far as how you fund some projects. As you know, you have three programs: the facade improvement, the key building, and the sidewalks that you do dabble on personal property, and that's when the State Board of Accounts wants things done a certain way. The way it's been established is City Council has to, the number in question today is $445,000. City Council has to justify that they've made investments within the TIF districts already. Once they've established that, and we have a list of a few projects that they have done already, we go to City Council and they appropriate $445,000 from their CEDAT fund to the revolving loan fund. At that point, it's sitting there. You, who cannot fund personal projects, you have a resolution to fund the CEDAT and replenish them. So the money will be moved into the loan revolving program that you have the full approval over. It's been through one reading at City Council. On September 8th, we have a public hearing at 6 o'clock, and then they have a second reading. So you becoming before the second reading doesn't hurt anything. I confirmed that with Bose McKinney. So the first approval, if they approve it the second time and you approve it today, they will move the money, then you will move the money back to them. And then as projects come forward, we will reference the revolving loan fund that's going to come from. Now, you've already committed about $300,000 this year, but there is a balance left. So that's procedurally how we're doing it.
Yeah. And this is really kind of I would say, a major step forward for us. When we started this we originally had, we still have, an exterior improvements fund, a sidewalks fund, excuse me, and a key building fund. And we have had activity in both the exterior improvements and in the sidewalk program previously. This year, we had 3 requests for the key building program. which is where you're taking buildings that are underutilized, unutilized, not even, in many cases, they're vacant and nothing's happened for years, such as the Elks building that came through this year, which basically sat empty for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years probably. And then you become a partner and to get something that develops. So it's pretty exciting that we've had that. Baker, or the State Board of Accounts, when we had it originally, we had them separately as like the other TIF funds were. And because you're dealing with private for-profit projects, it gets sticky with the taxpayer dollars. So this is a case where you can set this aside, working in partnership with the city council, and we'll seed it. It's something that's done in other communities, and so we set that up originally, or in the last couple of years. But I say, I'm very happy to see that this year we're had requests, and I sense there are going to be some more in that same area, down by the Balloons by God. There's 4 buildings there. 2 of those buildings have had a lot of the rehab stuff done. And so I think it's another thing that it shows the maturity of our economic development downtown, where all the prime properties are gone, and now you've got ones that have issues with a roof or a wall or a foundation or whatever that are now coming. That we can encourage, that the owner themselves, usually at this point, they've not put the money into the property, and we have the opportunity to help spur that to become active and then get back on our property tax rolls too. So anyway, I'm glad to see that happen.
The amendment that went out is, I had asked, and since these projects are primarily downtown and consolidated, they're not in the industrial park. We don't do facade programs out there. We haven't done key buildings. There's no key buildings out there.
Right.
That's why you see on the amended Section 2, the 50% come from downtown and 50% from consolidated is the recommendation.
Okay. Thank you, Haas. I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 2025-345, approving the amount of $445,000, 50% or $222,500 from the downtown TIF district, and 50% or up to 50%, $22,500 coming from the consolidated TIF district.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. So moving on to 2025-346.
Make my move. I'm not as familiar as Jacob, and he's here, but essentially what I think has happened, there was a move to get more funding for the program. I think it was evaluated and determined that maybe we just didn't see the full benefit to refund it. Therefore, that money could be moved out. City Council did a similar thing. They will be doing a similar thing. And I think the request is the same from RDC. Is that somewhat?
Yeah, I can kind of give the short version of it. So I think when I came at the time, the idea was that this money would be used, it was used as a match, and it was going to be used if the program was successful. What we kind of found out when doing it was we didn't have the setup, I think, with the company that we would have liked. It became much more onerous locally than what they had kind of led us to believe. And I think the main problem, we could have probably overcome that, but we weren't far enough along with some of our housing projects to really make it attractive to get people. Because I know we had one mover through the program. She came, brought a kid, I mean, really was successful, and for not having to spend very much local money on it, but she even had struggles finding housing. That was one of the big things. We weren't farther along with Lexington Village, with some of the apartment projects we're working on. I'd say a year from now, this program probably would be in a different place, but I think it was just the timing, and we got the grant money to do it. It kind of funded the first year of the program. Had we had more success, we would have spent this money, and now it goes back for other things.
Do you know about what's left that'll come back? Do you know what's left that'll come back? Okay.
Most of it, if
Okay.
not all. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys, what, did 75,000?
I feel like that's, yeah.
Somewhere below that.
Somewhere south of that, but not too much south.
Yeah, not much.
And for those new members, it was an exciting idea with Lexington because the idea was basically Indiana wanted to bring people from outside of Indiana into Indiana. So you might have someone has an office in Chicago, or it could be Las Vegas. And they would work with Logansport, lower cost of living. And we had hoped to, because of the fact that we had the semi-custom homes being built in Lexington Village, that people could build home offices, and so it just, as Jacob said, the timing just was not, our timing wasn't right to be able to offer that to people at the time that program was going. And to say, I think Indiana's now maybe even backed away with some of the new changes to the legislature on their financial situation. So anyway, so we'll be getting a refund back. It'll go back into the industrial park fund. That's where it came out of. So I will make a motion, we accept resolution 2025-346, transferring the remaining money from the funds from the Make My Move Fund into the industrial park fund at some amount expected to be somewhere under $75,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Questions? All right, all those in favor signify by a sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Moving on to resolution 2025-347.
Well, for a couple of years now, we've been talking about this program. It's a rehab program. We were looking to a way to enhance our career center construction program with hands-on skills. At the same time, maybe fixing up some homes locally in Logansport. John Michael and I specifically have been to several homes to look at them with the Career Center, to kind of look at the purchase price, what the rehab would be, is there money in there that you could make a profit on? And every time we went to a house, within a day or two, there'd be an offer and we'd miss out. We'd gotten frustrated, we kind of walked away from the program, we have other things going on. But what kind of sparked the interest this time is we have this education and training fund that we've been funding the Career Center with. I know this year they're not going to use all the funds, not even use close to the funds. So I did some research on the Indiana Code 36.7.25.7, and that's why I've put the PowerPoint together for you guys. And
Bill, do you want to use your PowerPoint? I've got it up there.
I don't need to use it.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of give it for reference that, that everything I've looked at and vetted, we are complete compliance by doing the program through this fund if you want to. Essentially, you would buy the home per the resolution. So in this particular house, 2520 Stadium Drive, the negotiated purchase price is $113,000. You would purchase the property, you would own the property, you would have every right, control of it. We've already talked to the Career Center, and we tried to find a proximity to the Career Center, so they're not using all their time traveling. But essentially, on a daily basis, he would take his more advanced construction crew to the site to perform the labor of the rehab. The materials, as you saw in the resolution, would be funded also from Redevelopment Commission. We've done some research of what it could resell for. On this particular home, we are estimating approximately $20,000 we think would be the profit. Now, a lot of that is because it's free labor, essentially. You know, they're getting the benefit, but we are getting the benefit of no cost of labor. So if you play it through, you acquire it, you fix it up, you market it to sell. When Mike goes to the closing, and we sell this particular property for $150,000, a $20,000 check, or actually you get a whole check of $148,000 or whatever it might be. We look at what RDC has dispersed, the $113,000 plus materials, we refund that bucket. We're gonna have this profit. Let's say it's $20,000. That is completely up to you to determine what you want to do with it. Our initial thought is that we create a scholarship fund or a trust fund that these proceeds go back into, and we develop scholarships at the Career Center. You as RDC members can do the applications and determine who gets what, or where they're going. Are they going to a trade school? Are they going to Vincennes or wherever? And you can determine how many scholarships annually you would like to do, and then you could go present them at the high school and go from there. Or you could determine half the proceeds are scholarships and we want the other half. Whatever it may be, I think that's more of a procedural thing we can work on in the coming months of maybe a flow chart of how this is all going to work. What we thought to kickstart this program is we put this together, the PowerPoint. Dwayne drafted the resolution. I do have a signed offer that I also sent in. And that's where we're at, is I think this could be a very great thing for both RDC and the Career Center and the community. I would like to find houses that are less appealing, more of an eyesore than this particular one is not. But it's, I don't want to say it's a beta test, but it's close to the Career Center. Kind of vet how this process works before we jump in on a complete rehab. So that's why this was chosen, and the Career Center is very comfortable with what needs done. And that's the recommendation that I have, is to approve this, we can get moving on it.
Bill, has there ever been a program like this with this?
I have never heard of one. We kind of internally just thought of it. When we got our first housing study and we saw there were various levels of need, high-end, middle, lower-end housing needs, we thought, hey, I think we're all kind of frustrated with, we do a lot of things in the community with the new builds and new apartments in Lexington Village, but yet you drive by some areas or houses that you're like, man, I wish that was fixed up. A good example, and I'll throw it out there, is we went to the Habitat ribbon cutting, and I looked around and I thought, wow, there's some houses up here that I would love to get our hands on and rehab. So that's kind of how the thought process happened, and no, I'm not aware of it going on in any other community.
I guess it goes without saying that there'll be close supervision over.
Yeah, Kai Long has been our guy we've really leaned on, and his dad's Kent Long. We've even looked at, we want to get a professional consultant, but I think with Kai does all the home inspections locally. He's the guy that realtors and banks will hire and potential homeowners to go through a house and inspect it, so he does have the knowledge.
Homes with his dad. I
He
mean,
does flip homes
he flips
himself.
homes on his own, so this is kind of something he does. And the one question I had, kind of maybe along similar lines, is just should we be named on as additional insured on like the school's insurance, or just what, somebody has a bandsaw or whatever they're doing, or table saw, and they,
I would say it'd be both ways. I think, because we're the owner of the property.
Right.
We should make the insurance company aware that we have Career Center individuals in there, and then we would also want the school to acknowledge that we are the program provider. So it's kind of a cross.
I just know when we have people on our property, the bank, and they're doing anything, we'll get named as additional insured if they're on our property
As a
doing something.
contract, yeah. Like I said, I think both ways would be a good idea. Yeah.
And previously, the school before, back when they were building homes, they would build it for normally teachers or principals, but, yeah, this would be a little different than that.
It's our property.
We would be owning the property, so
Right.
I'll make a note to check, because they may have something that they've done in the past, and they can research that, and get
Super
that figured
simple,
out.
but just
But
something.
I will say, Bill used the word Kickstart. I think that's a great thing. I've watched John Michael for 3 years trying to find some kind of flipping, rehabbing program. And I think part of the problem in Logansport is we have a high percentage of rental property owned by landlords that, and I say, and that since I come from that industry, you hear so many tragic stories of people stealing light bulbs and whatever, and messing things up, and damages on walls and fists through doors and this kind of stuff, that they often tend to, I will say, do, in my opinion, minimal work to get a property ready to be rented. And that means that, they're not going to go out there and, they're going to replace that roof after they've patched it for a couple of years. They're going to, the exterior siding, the house that Bill mentioned next to the Habitat house, they have replaced the windows, obviously, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they've got plywood patches below it, but the siding has never been resided. So, that kind of a small detail, which would be common sense to some, there's a house that leads and it's like us with the stuff with the businesses. Give them a nudge to try to get some of the properties to move up in value. And that's one of the things we've heard too when we did our housing study is, you got houses people are renting and they're expecting to get some level. And then you got expensive houses, but there's nothing in the middle. This helps to turn that over. So I think it's a good thing for us to do. This fits the Career Center, just from listening to them, well, and the fact it's close, its proximity is important, because they have to get the kids on a bus with their tools, go to a property. In this case, they probably keep the tools there, they could lock it up. But in other cases, they get an hour or 2 hours of total time to bus, do work and what have you, and they were trying to build a house or something like that. So in this case, I think the rehab stuff, it gives a thing. One of the problems that they've got at the high school, they have a nursing medical program where they have 100% of the people that take the test become a CNA certified at the end of that class, which means they can go right into a nursing home or a hospital and provide, they can be hired right out of school. In the construction industry, oftentimes we've got kids that are, they say, I hate math, I'm going to quit school. And they say, hey, why don't you do something with your hands and get down in building trades? They're trying to keep them in school and not to drop out. In some of these cases, if they don't want to, they get in there and I got to sweat. I got to do hard work. I got calluses on my hands. I think this is going to allow an opportunity to separate people that are serious about getting into the trades business and those that aren't. Because they do some stuff where right now they build walls and drywall and that kind of stuff in a shop situation, but they're not really on a job site. I hope that this kind of spurs them on to see, hey, I think I could be in this profession, because there is demand for employees by everybody in town. And yeah.
One thing to point out, this Indiana code is looked at on the 15% of your revenue is looked at on a calendar year basis. So we've got to be cognitive of when we do these things. I know it's going to come back, but we still have to track when it happens. So that's why on the PowerPoint I put under the funding piece, based on your proceeds for 25, you can do up to $280,018, $818. We've encumbered $106,446. But we've got to, so if we disperse $140 on this project, even though we're going to get it back, we have to track that we've spent it. Because if we don't get paid back till next year, we can't just keep hitting this fund this year in 2025 knowing we're going to get it back. We have to assume we're not. So I wanted to make sure we're tracking that, because it's not going to be picked up on your 20 spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We're going to need a 21st spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it is something, and that is something that I provide every year to the State Board of Accounts.
Yeah.
When they're pulling our stuff together. They want to see the disbursements made in that education and training fund.
Yeah.
And it is sometimes sporadic, because sometimes we're buying the stuff, sometimes the school's buying some stuff and we're reimbursing them. It's a little bit of a mess, but.
And Lewis Cass essentially maxed out their portion of the industrial park.
Yes.
I didn't even look at the industrial park piece, because that's their jurisdiction. And I did talk to the Career Center. They're not going to, if they do have an ask, it would be well below what would be available. So we're not going to cross any limits. I'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
Bill, the scholarship idea is good, but I was also wondering if, like, revenue in excess of expenses couldn't be set up in a fund that would make this, help ensure that this is sustainable.
I think that's a good idea too. We really got to hash that out because in 2031, a lot of your revenues will go away unless we reset.
I was just also going to ask, on the same lines, my brain was kind of thinking of like, could we make these into some fund available for like low-income homeowners who want to try and work on their own home, who are unable to get funding elsewhere? I know that's a tricky situation because you're basically giving people money to fix up their own property, so you're running some consumer risks in there.
We did used to have a
Did we?
process. We had it was like up to $15,000. It was a 50/50, kind of like some of our programs. It'd be a 50/50. You put up new siding, it'll be $5,000, you pay half, we pay half. So those have existed.
I ask because
I'm up for anything.
there's two types of homeowner, basically home repair funding that I'm aware of. One's USDA, one's HUD. HUD requires the city or town municipality to step in and basically write a very scary grant. It's the grant that we jokingly in my office talk about loving and hating, because it's something that you want to go for because you want to help people fix up their houses. But the pitfalls of navigating it and getting to the end and having a good outcome with your grant are so risky. It's like you really have to have a city that has a lot of impetus behind it and a lot of money to theoretically come in the clutch and fix things in the end if it doesn't turn out the way you hope it's going to turn out. USDA, the income limits for getting funding for fixing up your house are so insanely low. The idea that somebody that has that level of income would actually own their own home it's like one of those situations where you bought the house when you were in a better situation, lost your job, and now you've taken the only job that you can get that pays half as much as it used to, and you can't maintain your own house. It's such a small little pigeonholed group that it supports. It's also not as helpful. So having something locally that you could help homeowners.
I'm all
maintain
for
their
those
housing.
creative things. I think the two things that we just got to keep in mind is it's an education and training fund. We've got to make sure that if we do that, we've got to make sure we're compliant again. But I like that program. And we also need to show some thank you to the Career Center for the
Sure.
free labor.
Sure.
So what percentage of that, I don't know, but I think all these are good to discuss. We could have like a workshop, kind of throw some ideas around. We have some time, but you know how time goes.
Yeah.
Do we want to get a realtor? Do we want to, I want to have the Career Center use their TV and radio and marketing and their graphic design to make this a marketing blitz too, to show, heighten this program up. There's a lot of things in my mind. It's just getting through this first step of, do we even want to take this
Sure.
chance? But yeah, that's a good idea.
Something we've always ran into, in my opinion, is we pay for these things to be done, and then none of us are very good inspectors for the finished product. And that, we've had some cases where, we've given money, and I can think of one where there was two buildings that depend on this other building in the middle of being there, and it had a bad roof, and we paid for a roof, and then the owner came in and said, well, the roof wasn't done right or something. I mean, there's just stuff where, beyond our level of stuff, and that would, individual homeowners would be kind of a problem. But I do think there's a couple other opportunities out there. For instance, this Habitat for Humanity, which works with some low-income people. The Career Center this year panelized their walls for the house they just did. So that there's already an interesting partnership there where they've done that, and that would speed up the process of doing Habitat homes. They hope to be able to do 5 or 6 a year. We've had some thoughts internally about, could we provide seed money for the first one of their houses, and then, because they have to, every time they go between projects, they've got to go into the fundraising part of it, and it's an extended thing. If we could somehow make it so they could get a house done, take that money, put it in the next house, take that money, put it in the next house, it'd be more likely to get 5 or 6 done in a year. And that is kind of an interesting program where they actually counsel people with their money, get people in the door, and they typically, they have some factors they have in there, but those houses, the house that you think just finished, was 130,000 or something like that, and it, praised it much higher than that. So that's another way to help some people too. And I kind of wonder if we need to look into, and we've got the train education fund, we may want to look into our revolving loan fund and see if we should have, besides key building and sidewalks and exterior improvement, should there be something like a Habitat or a nonprofit or some, I don't know if there's other groups like that, but we may want to have another program in there that says, it's our intention to provide one-time seed money and it continues on, but then, someone's gonna say, well, what happens when a tornado hit, there's all those kind of things that happen. But I think this is good, again, spurring our ideas onto projects that we've thought about for 3 or 4 years and never got it done, and this is really kind of another case where just partnerships, and again, for better or for worse, we have a certain connections. We have a school board member from Lewis Cass that sits on this board, showing the importance that the biggest loser to property tax dollars is actually the school corporations in the community. So it's kind of nice, again, to be partnering with them to get some of the stuff done. And I think, as Bill said, this is the first step. It's a matter of, again, is there a certain radius that they can't do this beyond that thing? I would love to see that when I was talking to the Habitat people, they gave me a tour of their house, and there's a guy there that I think I want to say Grant Electric out of Lafayette or something like that. They've got like an internship program where they take kids from career centers and they bring them in to do Habitat homes in various places, which is kind of cool because they take their summer and work in those projects, and in some cases overlap them, and they have some way that they're giving some funding also to help those kids get a little money in the summer, but they really, what the real reward is, they're getting job experience in the summer. As I say, there's lots of business in this town. If you look around, it's kind of scary when you look at the HVAC guys, plumbers, electricians, they're all fairly old, and there's not a lot of their workers that say, oh yeah, he's going to be taking over my business. There's not a lot of that kind of positive talk. So
I was actually thinking, when you talked about having to ensure the work was quality, should you set up that kind of a program? I wondered about having a program where you pre-vetted a certain subset of local contractors to know that they're basically not a come in and flip the house as quickly and cheaply as possible, and they're going to do quality work.
it's interesting, as I say, because, with Habitat, the client or the to-be homeowner has to put some sweat equity into, and just listening to some of their stories of, how they've gone through years of this process with Habitat nationally, how to get that done. It was kind of amazing to me. I think they said Lafayette, they've built I think it was 3,000 homes over the years in Lafayette through Habitat. And so that, each of those people, they got to buy in, and, their theory is that people will then also take more care. If it's their house, they'll take more care than if they're, but anyway. Yeah, I think we need to continue discussions like that on and on, because I think there's, especially in Logansport, people talk about how do we get to the next tier. You can't bring an industry or a factory into town and say, hey, come on in, but we got no housing for anybody that's going to work for you. So, for us to expect everybody will have to drive into Cass County to work at this factory without any housing here, it's kind of being short-sighted in the fact that, those property tax dollars would be nice here. The schools would have more students. I mean, it would help the whole environment, rather than when we have something that's, everybody wants to have it. Yeah, let's get a big factory in here. Okay. Where are they going to live?
And demolition is always just an extra cost in terms of development.
Yeah.
If you get the option of buying a property land or plot of land on the outskirts of town versus buying up 3 properties in the middle of town, you're gonna pick that outskirt because you don't have to demo anything to build. So,
I'd say I had a gentleman stop me at the Security Federal block party they had down there, and this fellow was the father of the daughter that got the Habitat for Humanity house, and he was almost in tears because he had expected, his daughter has 3 children, and I believe divorced, And her situation was where she was living with the father, who has had some medical issues and da-da-da-da-da-da. And all of a sudden, this is like a gift from God that they were able to have a home, and they worked very hard to learn the skills and do the kind of stuff. And so it's kind of interesting. I mean, just when you see how it can touch people's lives and people who think that they're at the end of the rope, all of a sudden someone puts a hand out and provides a program. I think it's great that we can be involved in those kind of things too. But anyway, so be that as it may.
Is it a conflict of interest for me to nominate the house across the street for Bill's second house for his program?
All right. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 2025-347, and that's to provide funds to support the Building Trades Program for the Century Career Center in not to exceed $113,000 for the purchase of a house at 2520 Stadium Drive in Logansport, Indiana.
Materials and
Yeah.
up to 5 for the closing costs and
Yeah.
other.
5 for the closing cost and 25,000 for additional materials. And see here. So the maximum will be $143,000 total. It'll be paid up to 30% from the downtown TIF fund, 70% from the consolidated TIF fund. That's about it. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by a sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes.
And I'm not sure if this is for the minutes or how you want to do this, but you should get the authority to sign this agreement. And then,
Yes, okay, yeah. I'll make a motion to allow me to sign on behalf of the board. I've got a residential real estate purchase agreement, what's in your packet there. And so I'm asking for permission to sign on behalf of the,
Say, Section 1 actually says that you are approving the
the
purchase of the
resolution?
house
okay.
within the resolution.
As long as you're good with it, I just want to,
With him being president, he'll be able to sign for it.
okay.
okay. Okay. Never mind. We got Kelly here, we got to make sure we're rocking the line here.
The only part I would see that things may happen before a procedural thing was put together by the group. Materials, for instance. I think somebody on the commission, along with myself, should approve these purchases, and it probably shouldn't be you, in case
I
we
agree.
were to use McCord's for some reason. So, John Michael, I think you'd be an appropriate, and I don't think it'll happen.
Got spare time now.
Yeah. They don't stop coming. I like that.
I don't want put him in a weird position.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're right next to each other, so.
Okay. Moving on to Resolution 2025-348.
This is a different one, and I'm probably to blame on this indirectly. There's been several things down, I never realized they had so much activity down there, but I've been to, my daughter was interning there this summer, and they had like 5 events that, pretty packed. People coming in with various artists, had shows and camps and things, and I had mentioned to Rosie, I go, boy, your sidewalk's kind of a mess. Well, next thing I know, I get a invoice, and Bob Loudon will automatically just tell everybody that we have these programs, so I think it's pretty good. The issue is kind of, not an issue, but they have a business on the bottom, which is a art association, and they have a rental up top. And with it being a business and a rental, it kind of takes the residential 50/50 program out of the mix. And if you look at your specific TIF area, it goes to where the rivers meet and then it wraps back into downtown. So they're just outside of that. So my thought is, they have a lot of people come here from in town and out of town. They are a nonprofit. I would like to help them with the sidewalk. But the best avenue potentially would be the discretionary fund that I talked to Mike about. and it would only be $1,540 to get that accomplished. So,
That'd be 50% of the sidewalk.
correct.
And also, on another side note, we've got the Matlock Group, which is going to supposedly be building houses there on Front Street. So again, just in overall neighborhood, it'd be nice to have that be a nice thing. And again, you're gonna have traffic coming in for the art stuff, you know, with homeowners there also on the river. So, anyway, just a side note. Okay. I will make a motion to accept Resolution 2025-348, to pull money from the discretionary fund to pay 50% of the cost of a sidewalk for the Logansport Art Association. And the sidewalk size is 6 foot by 48 foot. And it would come out of the discretionary fund, not to exceed $1,540, which is 50% of the estimated price to build the sidewalk. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by a sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other,
Aaron here?
Aaron?
No Aaron?
It's all on you.
Just a couple things. Just to remind you now, the proud owners of Boondockers and SUS, so congratulations. That went through last week. Thanks to the clerk treasurer's office for getting that wire done. Now it's the next step. We have marching orders from Malcolm of environmentally what to do next, and it's a lengthy list we have to make sure we do appropriately before we just tear down a building. So we'll be working with Malcolm on that. We'll also have to RFP out the demo because it's over $150,000 most likely. So those things will be happening as this year comes to an end with the hopes of demolition starting off in 2026. We've got a lot of things going down at the riverfront. Can't get too specific. Of course, we have a hotel that made a bid. We've got potential other development down there that we're working on. We're looking at trails, river walks, things like that, Jacob and myself. So hopefully that'll start busting down there. We do have a marketing sign going up. It'll have a QR code of our marketing plan that we have down there. It's a nice big poster picture wood frame. It'll have me as the contact person, so hopefully that'll drive some interest. Nothing in front of you yet, but Aaron and I are working on a plan from 4th Street to 6th Street on North Street. So all of North Street between 4th and 6th, that takes you basically from what used to be the Ketchel Towers Masonic Temple building, all the way past Elks, which is what drives this, the new residents going there, all the way down to La Fiesta on both sides. I've had some complaints of some sidewalk issues, but if you look down those sidewalks, they're bad. We're getting ready to put in 52 new apartments, and there's a lot of activity down there now, and it's very dark. So all that said, I'm looking to gather estimates on new sidewalks, bury the electric lines, and pedestrian lighting down there. So right now, they're using that alley behind Old Style. It's just not the best to travel. This would give a much better look for downtown. I'm trying to craft these estimates with a portion of it getting done in 2025 and the other portion in 2026. So I am working with Bob Loudon on how best to accomplish that. Aaron's already met with LMU on what that would look like on burying the lines, but I don't have any numbers yet. Just know that I think it's well needed, and I will be bringing a proposal to you.
For the newer members on this commission, for a number of years, that was all it seemed like we were doing was sidewalks downtown. I mean, the city owns up to the building or there's some right-of-way thing there or whatever, but, so we really haven't done many sidewalks for a long time, but it is because he got a lot of them done. But that's another area that's growing, and
We're also trying to get more appropriate trees in certain areas. I've gotten we've actually, thanks to the Parks Department and Aaron with helping me out, there was the ones in front of the gallery that were a mess because we have the new awnings going up and the paint. I looked at Security Federals on 4th and Broadway, and they were producing these, what was it, like sour gum tree? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a circular pine cone that doesn't give. So if you step on it, you go.
Oh, I hit one of those when I was in college on a bike, and I went over the
Yeah.
front of my bike. I didn't have a helmet. Now I always wear a helmet because of this, and just skidded to a stop on the pavement.
Yeah, they're bad. They don't give. They do not contract. So those trees are down. Not that we're just trying to wipe out trees, but we are working with Craig Renneman on not only taking them down, but if a new tree goes in, what won't hurt the sidewalks?
Right.
What won't go into the buildings? What won't cover the signage?
Right.
So that is strategically happening right now, too.
And I asked our team to look into that today. So they asked me if we just wanted concrete, and I really not. I love to look at trees in the downtown area, but just not
Yeah.
trees that have really wide canopies that get the building, or really large, now you can't see the building. So something smaller, slower growing.
Well, what's odd is that strip, you have to get NDOT approved trees.
'Cause it's
And they have a list of NDOT approved trees because it's along a highway.
Yeah.
So we do have a list, but we won't be able to just pick anything we want. But when it comes time, we don't have the stumps out of there yet because the grinder's down right now, but
Okay.
we will get with the owners of the gallery, Security Federal, whoever, and try to get the appropriate trees there.
That's good. Bill, while you're here, is there any update that we should talk about with the El Tipwa building now or not, or is that a later date?
Trying to categorize all the emails I've seen.
Later's fine.
Both sides are moving.
Okay.
There's a lot of data out there now. Malcolm has read the report. We are not, RDC at this point is not willing to accept based on the findings. And I think the decision has been made to have Brad work with Malcolm. Is that where we're at? I think Brad's going to be working with Malcolm on the best game plan to get this away from the schools, get it to RDC for 10 minutes, and then get it to Chris Hallam at this point.
yeah.
I just think it's good.
It's all moving. It's all
Also, I
moving.
think we need to pull prime contracting into the loop with Chris Hallam and Brett Bowman. because
He's in the loop, but not.
He knows, yeah, he hears certain things, and they say, there's people that tell him, you better get something in writing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If you go by his existing property, he's got more trucks than he's got parking lot there. And they are a growing business. At the same time, you got these issues that are, I had somebody from some group tell me that in Logansport, you could probably find some kind of environmental contamination in, I think, like 3/4 of the town or something like that, because of, I know why.
It's so weird. There's so much data, and it's like everybody takes data and makes their own conclusion of, well, I don't think that's a big deal, just whatever. And then you've got, it's a big, But when it comes to this situation, I would lean on the expert that we have. That would be Malcolm, to not get us in trouble 12 years down the road. I know it's painful, but, because there's some that's like, just, it's no big deal. Well, it kind of is.
Well, I appreciate the update, and it was a 1,000-page document, the phase one assessment. So Malcolm, I really appreciate the memo that you put out, and I just kind of want to.
He did the same for Boondockers, and that was like 2,000 pages, so he's been reading a lot.
Yeah, it's just a lot.
How in the loop is Prime? That was one thing I guess that I wasn't sure of from the
What?
emails. How in the loop is Prime on the findings and Malcolm's recommendations?
I think they are. I think
I
Brad,
think they know roughly what the situation is. They've talked to Brett. I've talked to him a little bit, because they keep saying, what's the holdup, what's going on? And I've been fairly tight-lipped about what everybody's opinions are, because I think it's not really fair to do that. At the same time, we went through a pretty expansive system of taking 4 people that wanted that building and getting it down to 1, and now the guy that was awarded it had spent time calculating what they would do and, selling it to us, and then all of a sudden we're going, hold on. So I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, some of the proposals that we received would not be able to go forward because because of the deed restrictions.
Yes.
So, it can be residential apparently, so, yeah, it just seemed very premature. There's just a few things that need to be taken care of, and I don't know why the current owner should just shift that liability over to the city of Logansport when they're really in a better position to address it and then make a clean transfer over. So that's my position. I think everybody understands that.
Two board members made that very clear, and they're in agreement of that.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody has their own take on what the problems are. We, from the school side, we're adamant that this isn't going to be a transfer of a problem. Let's do it correct.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what started all this. That's how we got the ESA in the first place, is we mandated it at the school level to get it done. So now we have it. Now we have to, just because you have a report, that you need to address the things.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
I think it's fair to say that whether it be the schools or the city of Logansport or Cass County, in general, this new funding from the state, the new program, has them all a little bit worried because they don't really know exactly where they're going to be at. So they're all trying to be very careful they don't, pick up an obligation that they can't afford. NSA and I just saw Mrs. Starkey, the superintendent, yesterday in a meeting, and they still don't have an accurate reading of what kind of money is going to come in from the state. They still haven't got a finalized, this is, it used to be, here's your head count, so it's just a case where I think some of them, I think they're being cautious, but I also think that, we wandered into this thing without Malcolm being on this board, and probably Tim too, on just you guys' knowledge of this stuff, we just, we've kind of walked, we've done a lot of things with just not, not intentionally, but just the fact that we didn't know, some of the long-term consequences that property owners, or, as I say, there's kind of a chain here. If we step in the middle of the chain and we pass it off 2 days later, we're still in that chain. And that's, I think, where I've learned from Malcolm that I want to just close it'll be fine. Let's just close our eyes, it'll be fine. You guys have experienced situations in your professional lives that weren't as clean that way. So, okay. Any public comments? BJ? Deputy Mayor? Kelly? Man, get the opportunity. All right. Any board member comments? All right. Our next meeting is Wednesday, September 24th at 11 a.m. I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.